Hello, and welcome. Welcome to episode 87 of Brews Less Traveled. I'm your host, Brian, and this is the podcast exploring the best uncharted craft beer scenes across the United States. I'm so happy to be joined by my co-host for these episodes, MC. MC, how's it going?
Hey, Brian, I'm doing good. I'm a little sad that it's our last week in Fort Collins. Had a lot of really great conversations this month. A lot of really great beers. So, kind of a bittersweet ending.
Yeah, great beers, great cities, great city, great conversations.
Well, but a lot of cities, actually. We've actually kind of traversed the entire northern part of Colorado, which has been kind of fun, you know?
Yeah. We've featured breweries from outside of Fort Collins, which tonight is no exception.
Right.
Yes. Anything interesting going on with you? I sped home from my other job tonight. So I usually have this pre-show ritual where I settle down, I get my headphones charged up. I have this old headset on. I haven't used it.
You're doing great.
I haven't used this since I worked at a call center.
I was going to say, you look like you're playing a video game. You look like my husband when he's playing video games. You're doing fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing really going on too much with me. I'm getting ready to, I've been kind of preparing this week and last week. I, at my local brewery where I was in production until recently, I am getting ready. They're doing a big expansion. And so the tap room is closed. And so they are taking the month for their tap room staff to do some education. And they are going to take their, those of them that haven't taken their exam are going to take their certified beer server exam on Friday. So I am going to go in tomorrow and do a big 2-hour review with them. So I have just been kind of gathering stuff, writing practice tests, going over the syllabus, doing stuff like that. So I have some education tomorrow. I'm really excited. I'm excited to see. I don't really know if they're ready. I think they're going to do great. So I'm excited to just go in and,
CBS is low pressure. If you work in a brewery, you should probably, if you work in a tap room, you should be able to pass CBS.
Exactly. So I think they're going to be, well prepared, and the tap room will just be stronger when they reopen. So yeah, I'm excited to see them and do a little work with them tomorrow. That's kind of what's been on my radar recently.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to our Beer Club subscribers for joining us in the chat. Yens are great. Yens are the best. Checking in from various areas around the country. Thanks for joining us. On this episode, we're going to be featuring, we're going to be closing out our Fort Collins episode featuring two breweries, Funkwerks and WeldWerks. Yes, you heard that right. Two breweries that put the work, WERK, into beer. But don't be confused by the names. They are actually two separate breweries. Two separate breweries with their own brands, own unique beers, and own unique backstories. So tonight from Funkwerks, we're going to be enjoying their Tropic King, Imperial Saison, and from WeldWerks, we're going to be enjoying their Starry Night Milk Stout. So two great beers from two great breweries.
Yep, looking forward to those. And we're also going to be joined by a guest here shortly who can tell us about WeldWerks Brewery. But I think first, before we bring him on, let's go ahead and open this Funkwerks beer. Let's go ahead and crack open this Tropic King first.
We definitely should do that. I am excited.
Have you ever had this beer before, Brian?
I have not. I've had a couple beers from Funkwerks when I've been out in the Colorado area for, CBCs and whatnot, but I have not had this particular beer from them. I think I've actually had the original Saison.
That right. I think it's in a green can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beer that gave way to this Tropic King. They call this as an Imperial Saison, 8%
Right.
alcohol.
Right. Which, yeah, I've heard those called Imperial Saisons or like strong Saisons. This beer is kind of nostalgic for me. I think I've said on the show before that Fort Collins is kind of the city that made me a beer nerd. I turned 21 in Fort Collins, and my brother surprised me on my 21st birthday. And we went to a bunch of breweries. And one of the breweries we went to was Funkwerks. And so like I'm sitting there on my 21st birthday drinking Tropic Kings. And so that's why I'm a big nerd.
Well, the beer that has led you to this point has come back for vengeance.
Full circle. Ooh, just as good as I remember too.
Yeah, beautiful. Like Tropic King is a perfect name for this because it has that beautiful tropical fruit aromas. They use New Zealand hop varieties to dry hop this beer, and it is just a wonderful hop forward Saison.
Yeah, hop forward, but still like nice and estery and phenolic. I mean, still definitely getting those like spicy classic Saison notes and warming without being like overly boozy. You can taste that it's 8%, but it's not doesn't, warms my chest.
Sting. You don't get the sting.
Yeah. It's nice.
You get
Good
the
balance.
comfort. You get the comfort of the alcohol, but you don't get the sting.
Right. Yeah. Nice and balanced. Yeah. So they said that they originally just brewed this to be, like you said, just like a hoppier version of their regular Saison, but they put extra malt in there, which made it a big, totally different beer. And it shines all on its own.
Yeah, chat is responding very much in the same vein. A little bit of farmhouse funk, yeah.
Right.
And also Dan says works for me. WERK. I promise that's the last of them. That's the last of the works jokes.
I don't think it is. We have like a half hour here ahead of us. I can't imagine that's the last one, but we'll see.
Well, we have a guest coming on, and we have to get a little bit more buttoned up when the guest comes on.
Right.
As MC mentioned, we have a wonderful guest for tonight's show. So please welcome the head brewer at WeldWerks, Skip Schwartz. Hey, Skip.
Oh, hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. How are you guys?
Good.
We're doing great. We've previously touched on our current states. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, actually. I'm excited to hear some more works jokes and puns, and pretty excited for what's in store for us here.
Well, wonderful. It's great to hear that you're strapped in for the terrible works jokes and puns that we have in store. But as always, let's kick things off with our quick sip questions. These are fast questions. We want fast answers, and they will help us get to know
my best.
Fast. We appreciate the effort. Cool. So favorite WeldWerks beer?
Would be Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Classic.
A good old snapper. Ski or snowboard?
Neither.
The third answer. Stout or barley wine?
Stout.
Okay. Your favorite adjunct to put in those stouts?
Coconut.
Oh my God. Firing off them. Favorite variation of your favorite beer, Media Noche?
The Saz that we did, the Antique Saz. Or last year's just 2022 Media Noche. We'll go Saz.
Okay. Wonderful. And finally, have you ever seen a UFO? A ghost? No. Bigfoot?
No.
Anything inexplicable?
No, but I'm going to say that I'm not ruling any of that out.
A non-eventful answer, but not a non-participatory answer.
Sure.
To be continued. We'll follow up.
Yes. You'll be the first to know if I see it come across any.
Perfect.
Yeah, we have contact information. Well, yeah, let us know.
Great.
Excellent. Great. Well, yeah, thanks for those. Great answers. So let's talk about your background. The WeldWerks founder, Neil Fisher, was the original head brewer. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you kind of came to take over that role.
So when I had first interviewed for a job, I was working as the production manager down at Black Project, Spontaneous and Wild Ales, who's no longer in business, unfortunately. I loved working there. It was a great experience. It's kind of one of the first times that I led a team, and I have had I've known Neil and Colin and the whole WeldWerks Kristen since before WeldWerks had even been conceived. So I actually worked for Neil once. He was the general manager of a local bar here in town, and I was actually a bartender there. So we've had some past experience. We've known each other. We've gotten along for a very long time. And so I interviewed for a lead brewer position there. And at the time, our current director of brewing operations also applied for that position. And he actually got the position, but they hired me on anyways to kind of see where I fit in. They liked, my resume. We had a good time. Like I said, I have history with pretty much all of those people. Arnie, I actually lived down the street from WeldWerks, and I was working in Denver, so I was there all the time, and I've just known pretty much the whole staff for a very long time. So they just kind of brought me in as kind of a cultural fit, and Derek is definitely the better fit for the lead brewer. I like the pun in the chat. But yeah, so they brought me in, and they kind of didn't really have a position for me, and they kind of put me as like I think my first title at WeldWerks was special projects, and I kind of just would figure out something to do for the day. And that was just kind of what I would do. And it, they brought me in because of my creativity that I had done, brought to some of the projects that I worked on at Black Project, and that I kind of spearhead over there. And so they just kind of were trusting, like, we'll figure out where you're going to fit in here. At the time they were fully staffed on like shift brewers, and I kind of really wanted to try it. I've loved WeldWerks and their beer and their culture and their whole look on life. So I kind of just said, I'm going to take the risk and just kind of see where this goes. I think I was the head of quality for a couple months, which was kind of strange for me because I have zero experience in that. And I had just come from a Spontaneous brewery, which, the quality control for that is very different from the quality control at a production facility such as WeldWerks.
Right.
And, from there, I kind of moved into a barrel position. So I was kind of running media noche stuff and doing a lot of the decisions and working really closely with Neil on a lot of those projects. And I think that's kind of where things started to kind of, evolve. And, Neil was making all those decisions, and he slowly would give me more responsibility in making those kind of decisions. And, we worked really close, and I got to like pick his brain a lot. And I think, when he finally decided that he was no longer, he wasn't really there day to day. And so I kind of took on this role as an innovation. So I was, my title was innovation and wood cellar lead. So I would run kind of like the point on getting new beers kind of off the ground. So kind of an R&D brewer without the, our R&D batches were actually full-size production batches. So it was kind of like I was writing half the recipes and doing half the half the adjuncts. And it just kind of, when Neil stepped down or decided that, he was far enough removed, and he trusted the team that he had put in place enough that he could walk away and go do other parts of the business and work on some of the other stuff that he wants to outside of the business, that he kind of looked and said, I think you're going to do this. Derek's going to run kind of the overall scene of all production and make sure we're running smooth and all those things that, Derek is way, his mind is way analytic, mine's way creative. And if you put us together, you get Neil Fisher, I guess. So
Perfect.
So that's kind of how it worked out. And that's kind of how my journey at WeldWerks, I've held a lot of positions for somebody who was hired with no position. So it's kind of a fun little journey for me, but I'm going on 4 years at WeldWerks next month. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I in all my research, I didn't know that you had worked at Black Project before, and Black Project is absolutely one of my favorite, or was sadly, one of my favorite breweries in the country. So that's so interesting, the journey from working at a brewery that was doing, I believe at the time, 100%
we were
spontaneous,
100% spontaneous, correct.
Nothing but spontaneous. So you brewed what, 5 months out of the year, 4 months out of the year?
Yeah, we brew 4 months out of the year. And when I was there, so when I had started, the biggest thing for us there was, when James had brought me on, he was like, I need you to be able to expand our production. And that was kind of my task. And I worked there for about a year and a half, and we were able to grow quite a bit. And when I had left, we were talking about cans when I was there, and I was like, I hope to see it, but something I didn't really personally want to be a part of in that setting. But I was very sad when they closed, and like I said, I loved working for James. I think he's one of the smartest people I've ever met. I learned so much from him, and to have that experience is something that is it set me up for success for sure. And I'm very thankful for him and all Black Project and all the people that I worked with there and all the people that I met with there. It was just an amazing experience for me.
Yeah, amazing brewery. Let's all pour one out for Black Project tonight. That's yeah. No more Habu. But anyways, let's get into the WeldWerks beer we have for the night. What would you like to tell us about Starry Night?
Yeah, so Starry Night is kind of a beer that we've been making for quite some time, and coconut, hazelnut, and stout, and it's kind of birthed a lot of beers that have kind of, that was kind of the first time that we made this beer. We loved it, and we made a second version, which was called Starry Night, which was an Imperial version. And then a couple years later, I'm sure you know where this is going, to our most famous Media Noche that we've ever made, and that was Starry Noche. So it was kind of just, it started out as just one of our pastry stouts, base, sea malts, a little bit of roast, coconut, as much coconut as we can at every step that we can is kind of our thing with coconut. So before we had our pasteurizer, one of the things that we would do is we would put raw coconut in the mash, which is something that a lot of brewers probably don't do or talk about doing if they do it. But yeah, we like the flavor of raw coconut a lot. And before we had the pasteurizer, it's really hard for us to add that in without worrying about infection. So we would load up the mash with a good amount of coconut, and then we'd add some toasted coconut later on. Hazelnuts is kind of the same. We try to use hazelnut as much as we can throughout the process. So we use, we'll use some chopped or flour in, chopped nuts in the mash. We'll throw some flour in somewhere, maybe in the kettle, maybe in the fermenter, and that's kind of where where those come from in the Starry Night. In the Starry Noche, we have a kind of a different process for that, but that's a completely different beer. So
you have to go into more detail on that. Are you just like looking for every opportunity where you can put these kitchen ingredients, for lack of a better term, into these beers, or like, how do you dial that in? Is there test batches?
I think really and this is one of the hardest things that I've had, that I think WeldWerks has had for our whole career, is we're constantly trying different things and figuring out what works and what doesn't. And like, sometimes we figure something out, but we go, oh, well, we're never going to make this beer again. So it's like, but then you take all that information and you're constantly looking for another application of that information. And so, I think one of the biggest things that we did a couple of years ago is so we wanted to do a really coconut forward IPA. So we turned all of our brewing water into coconut water. So we turned HLT, coconut. So we did everything. So we were mashed with coconut water. We sparged with coconut water, and it's something that sounds so cool, and it sounds like, oh, this is like such a great idea. And you get there, and you're like, oh shit, we just spent all this time and money and energy on doing this project, and it didn't taste like coconut.
Oh no.
And so we're like, okay, well, at least we can still add coconut in other places. But again, it's just having that information goes,
that won't work.
Yeah, you just it won't work. But also adding raw coconut into your mash, is going to work to an extent, but it's not going to get you 100% there or what you want. And so that's where you take that information that we learned from something like Starry Night, and then we go, okay, well, when we're making Starry Noche, we have to do something completely different. And so we've gone through all sorts of different processes with that. And the first batch of Starry Noche, we put our best foot forward based on information from other coconut beers, but it was kind of like dumb luck kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like we knew it would work to an extent. I just don't think we ever realized that it would be what it was and what it still is today. I mean, that's still one of our, the first batch is still our highest rated beer we've ever had. People still ask me if I have it. Like, we knew it was going to be a hit, so we saved some or something. Like, now I remember it sold out pretty quick, and we just, none of us had any, and people would be like, well, can we get some? I'm like, I don't have any. So yeah. So
the coconut character in this beer is unlike any. It jumps out of the beer. It jumps into your face. Are we talking like 5% of the grist is coconut, 20%?
Yeah, I would say, like, I mean, again, we do add more into fermenter or our adjunct vessels. We do have custom created adjunct vessels that we created for coconut, and that's what I was talking about, the process. So we do have some tools that we call our cheat codes that we kind of created ourselves, and they're pretty cool tanks. They have false bottoms in them. So the original one was I want to say it was an 8-barrel, 10-barrel tank, something like that. And maybe it was 6 actually. But it has a false bottom in it. It has a manway on the side. So we basically replicated a mash tun. And it was basically designed for coconut only. So you load in the top manway with as much coconut as you want. The bottom has 5 true bottoms on it. So you're pulling evenly through, similar to, again, like you would with a mash tun. But it's more of a bright tank shape. And then it has, on the sides, it has different ports in it, and each port kind of has a different level, so we can recirculate through the coconut at different levels so we start off pretty low, and every day we raise it up a little bit, so we're getting as much surface contact with these coconuts. So that's kind of our big thing, and that's kind of the thing that's always separated us. And another thing for our coconut beers is our willingness to lose a ton of barrelage to absorption and take beer that has rested on coconut off the coconut and then put it back on top of more coconut and lose even more. So I think, we've made beers. I think we did one that was like 4 pounds per barrel, or 4 pounds per gallon of coconut before. I mean, like, we've done just insane things. I think that's kind of the thing for us, is coconut's always kind of been one of our things that we've taken a lot of pride in working on that. And we've spent a lot of money on infrastructure and coconut itself to stand out a little bit. And like I said, a lot of people tell us that we're reckless with coconut, or we're wasting money, and we know what we're doing. We have the receipts to prove that we know that we're losing money once in a while. But I think at the end of the day, all that matters is if it makes a good beer and we enjoy doing it and we like it, then that's all that really matters. And I think people like it too. So
yeah, it's obviously being well received. So
yeah,
if that's what you want at the end of the day. Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, I'm definitely getting coconut out of this beer, and I see everybody in the chat, and I hear Brian, we're definitely talking a lot about the coconut, but I'm getting, like, the first thing I noticed was like the hazelnut. I get like hazelnut coffee with cream in it out of this beer for sure. And like a little bit of coconut on kind of like the back end. It's definitely what I'm getting. Anyway, we're all experiencing this different. I think we're all feeling and enjoying it. So, as we've already kind of touched on, WeldWerks is definitely known for their stouts, especially high ABV barrel aged stouts. So can you go even, we've already talked about it a little bit, but can you go even into a little bit more detail about the process of creating, in particular, those barrel aged stouts a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So we actually, when Neil started the barrel program, one of the things that he wanted to do was create a beer that you would never taste without barrel aging. And that's kind of what Media Noche is. So, I mean, the Media Noche base, we don't brew it for fresh consumption. We don't brew it without it going into barrels. So in the process behind that is, so it's a 3 mash, it's a 3 mash brew. So we'll do 2 the first day. So double mash kind of standard. And, some people boil for, 12 hours, you've heard some people do 20. So we boiled, originally it was 36-hour boils. We do around 30 now when we're doing it. But like I said, again, we're just trying to make this thickness that really needs barrels for it to stand up. And that's kind of that medianoche viscosity that people recognize. So yeah, that's kind of our biggest thing for it is just the brew process itself. And then knowing that it's not going to be unaged, and the fact that, we also have to age it for a long time. So you see a lot of people always that, we age medianoche is usually a minimum of 18 months in barrels, versus some people can do a year. We can do it a lot longer. I think we released our longest barrel. We had a barrel that went into a blend and it was 54 months old, and it's still, they hold up very well because of this thickness and this syrup like texture. So they hold up very well. So I'd say that's kind of our process for medianoche. And did I answer the full of your question, or is there fermentation questions? I guess.
I thought that was great, Brian. What do you think?
Oh, we have follow-ups.
Yeah, always.
Sure.
And I completely forgot. You don't ever brew the medianoche wort to be fermented and consumed in its an unbarreled basis, but I'm sure you've tasted it. Is it?
Sure, we've tasted plenty of it.
Undrinkable, or is it just?
Undrinkable isn't the word that I would use, but it is
probably not the worst word for me to choose.
Yeah, no, it's definitely just, it's not. We built it. The recipe was built to stand up to those flavors of oak and to have that play into it. And we treat oak and the bourbon and the barrels that it's coming out of as an ingredient in our recipe. And so I think it's just like, it'd be like, hey, how does that IPA without pale malt or, without a base malt? And so it's like, we treat it as such an ingredient in that beer, the oak and the barrels, and we adapt the recipe for, if we're going into a rye barrel, we'll add rye into different forms of rye. So we'll do, rye, chocolate rye, pale rye, all sorts of different kinds of things. And we're doing wheat, we'll add heavy wheats into it. We'll add flaked wheat. So we'll adjust it. So we treat the barrels, like I said, it's so much to us as part of the recipe that I think it's kind of an unfair thing. It'd be like I said, an IPA without hops in it. It's kind of like an unfair. So is a pre-dry hopped IPA as good as the wort that comes off it? So we just consider it, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a fair
step in the comparison. Process.
Right.
Yeah.
It's part of the process. We treat it that way, and we treat it like it's an ingredient. So we have to say that it is not undrinkable, but it's not finished. So.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And so where are those barrels coming from? Where are you getting any of your barrels? What kind of barrels are you using?
Right now, the barrel market's really tough. But for the most part, prior to, during COVID-19, we made a really big effort in supporting a couple barrel suppliers and working with them at a time when it was very uncertain. And a lot of people weren't willing to put aside resources in the purchasing of barrels and producing of wort and beer that's going to get rested to. So we actually built out our barrel room during COVID. Our barrel room is a separate building, which featured at one point we had about 650 barrels in it. Right now we house around 300 to 400 at any given time. So that's kind of, so we put the money into it then. And so we were able to form these really good relationships with our barrel brokers. Most of them are bourbon barrels and from Kentucky. We do have some other outliers, Old Elk and Fort Collins. We like to work with them. They make great liquids and spirits. And so we like to work with them. We work with other, local Colorado distilleries here and there. We have some gin barrels. I have some mezcal barrels in right now with both stout and another little project that we're working on with our good friends at Voodoo out in Pennsylvania. So, we're definitely trying all sorts of things. But for the most part, we're getting from Kentucky and bourbon We have a lot of Buffalo Trace in house, a lot of Old Forester. Heaven Hills makes great spirits as well. So I do like to say when we talk about our barrels, there hasn't been a bourbon that I think that I have wanted that we haven't been able to get. I will just say that for bourbon.
Cool.
I'm going to go in a very selfish direction. Voodoo is the other brewery when I think of big Imperial, big barrel aged Imperial stouts, Black Magic, Photic. What can you give more details on what you're working on with them?
I can, but first I want to say that we do, Voodoo was somebody that we looked to when we were building this program, and we love those people over there, and their crew, and their people are just awesome. Their product is awesome. I'm so happy to have been able to be a part of all three of our big barrel aged stout collabs, and maybe our fourth or fifth in the works. But I love working with those guys. They're all such smart people, and they know so much. And so, like I said, the Midnight Magic series is one of my favorite things that we've done. Like I said, that 54-year-old month-old barrel that I was talking about was one of their barrels, because they like to age forever. We like to age forever, so we went for forever. But the project I'm talking about with Mezcal barrels is actually last year during our Invitational Festival. We brewed a beer with them that was called the Mango Margarita. And that was kind of designed after one of their cocktails that they do at their locations, and it had a little bit of it was mango. I can't think of what the other thing was. There was something else that was a little bit different, but we made that with them, and then we made a separate batch because we liked it so much, and we aged it in mezcal barrels, and that should be coming out this summer, I hope. But yeah, so we're excited about that. And then I'm not supposed to probably tell you this, but we do have another Midnight Magic. We have blend 4, maybe 4, and then depending on how long we want to go for, and if we want to double barrel it, I'm still trying to get them to let me use Man Bear Pig, the Legend of Man Bear Pig out here.
Yeah, so let's go.
Someday I'll talk them into it, but still a no from them right now.
I have to contain myself. Man Bear Pig is unbelievable.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, you see over here in Western Pennsylvania, MC, we are nerds about a few things: hockey, football, and Man Bear Pig. Not the actual creation, but the barrel aged stout that Voodoo did. We shouldn't go into more detail. Skip
could really go down this rabbit hole.
We could really get off the rails. Let's take a beer break. We'd like to mention the Atomic Child stickers featured in this month's beer box. Our producer Laura met the owner and artist behind Atomic Child, Jimmy Bryant, while attending last year's Great American Beer Festival, and she instantly knew you would all love to get your hands on these incredible stickers. Jimmy is a Fort Collins-based artist that has been drawing and creating all his life. His passion for art is evident in these designs, and he started Atomic Child out of his love for the outdoors, and his designs are now featured nationwide. So thank you, Jimmy, for sending these awesome stickers for our subscribers. What a great treat to feature such a cool outdoor brand based out of our featured city, Fort Collins, Colorado. If you want to learn more about this great brand, check out atomicchild.com. Now let's get back to the show. Is there a beer, you've talked about so much versatility that you have at WeldWerks, the purposefully created tanks for infusing coconut into beers, but is there a beer that you've dreamt of that you haven't been able to do?
So yeah, I mean, I think that most people would think that, looking at our 700 different beers over the course of our 8-year, that we've done it all, and we've done everything that we want to do, and it's clear that we're going to do what we want to do. I will say the only limitation that we have right now is our original brew house, and that would have to be a double decocted lager. Would be one thing that I personally would like to do. I know my brew staff, or not my brew staff, my coworker and brew staff would love to brew that as well. So I would say that would have to be it. It's not the beer that you probably expected, considering the fact, but that's something that we're going to work towards. And I think you might see one coming out this year from our new system that might be existent. But yeah, so that's kind of it, but it's not as fun as probably everyone wanted it to be. But anything that we want to do, we kind of do it already. And that's kind of the fun of WeldWerks. And I think that's kind of the fun that we've built a brand that people trust, and that when we're we're going to do something, we're going to do it to the best of our abilities, whether it's a taco beer or, a taco beer, or just, just a regular old Czech style Pilsner,
Look, if there's one thing we love on Brews Less Traveled, it is the ability to transfer thick mash from the wort kettle into the boil kettle and heat it up to 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and then transfer it back into the mash tun.
Yep, that is the one beer that I would say that we have not been able to do at WeldWerks yet.
Is that how you would do it, or are you planning on getting a decoction ton online?
So we do have a new brew house that we've been working on for a couple of years now. And it's actually up and running, maybe. I'm supposed to keep it pretty tight-lipped until till we're all clear to go. But we have been brewing on our new brew house, and it will have the capability of doing pretty much whatever we want. We kind of went a little crazy. We have what I would like to call the Willy Wonka of brew houses. Anything and everything that has ever been put on a brew house is on this brew house. We put in extra special stuff that we've designed, worked with Specific out in Canada on it. So it's kind of an absolute, hopefully it's going to be a workhorse, but hopefully it's going to be a little fun factory for us. And we're going to be able to do the same stuff that we've been doing, but more of it, and maybe some fun stuff like double decoctions, some other cool stuff. Like I said, we're keeping it pretty tight-lipped, even though no one really has known about it, and we've been working on it for 2 years, and we're actually brewing on it now. So
very cool. Definitely gonna sounds like you're gonna be able to get a lot more creative, which sounds like
that's
your
the goal.
Passion project. Cool.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Well, we'll keep your secret here. So okay, so every year WeldWerks hosts the WeldWerks Invitational, and it's one of the most talked about festivals in the beer industry, and some of the best breweries in the world come and pour some of their best beers. So all proceeds go to the festival from the festival go towards the WeldWerks Community Foundation programs for the betterment of Weld County. So we'd like to know, what's your favorite part of that annual festival, if you have just one or multiple?
I have to be honest. It's such a fun thing to be able to hang around with so many people that I've got to know over the years and call friends that are the brewers just being there, seeing people being at the festival. It's a ton of work for our staff, my coworkers and I, and in the sense of leading up to it, getting everything prepared, and then actually doing it. And it's exhausting and it's tough. So we're actually kind of moving away from a model of every year. This next year we might be taking off. We're probably taking off. I think we're taking this year off. And then after that, we'll see where we go from there. But right now, with so many other projects going on, and our staff kind of all over the place and doing all sorts of projects and shuffling around, and we're growing like crazy still. It's very hard for us to commit to doing it this year. So we're not, if we can't do something right, we're not going to do it. So we're probably taking this year off. But to answer your question overall, my favorite part is definitely just being around, like I said, people that I've gotten to know over the years, and just call my friends. A lot of these people in these other breweries that we talk all the time, sometimes weekly, daily for certain people. And it's just great to have people there. I'm fortunate enough for my position that I get to travel a lot and see a lot of these people throughout the year anyways, but to have them in my backyard and at WeldWerks and show them around our place and do stuff is always just great. And just, I think the biggest thing for me has always been in beer is great, but I think beer brings people together, and that's kind of the fun of it, and that's kind of the best thing for just the best thing. And then the fact that we got to do this cool thing, hang out with our friends, bring some of the best beer to a city that, you know, maybe otherwise wouldn't have been able to get these beers, and then be able to give money back to our community in the form of our foundation is just icing on the cake. So
yeah, the invitational is something I've always heard about. You know, I'm a ways away in Pennsylvania, but you know, I guess I'll say again, selfishly, hope to see Yins at Good Vibes this year.
Yeah. No, I definitely think we will have beer at Good Vibes, and that's another great festival that we love to be a part of. And again, Voodoo, those are our pals.
Well, that was kind of my jumping off point for wanting to talk about this on this episode, is that Voodoo does this whole thing of welcoming the brewers in and having a special brewers night and having this big bonfire. And, you know, they have that beautiful location that's like right on the river. And it seems like for them, the festival is about connecting with these people that they talk to through emails or text messages throughout the year. So I guess I'm saying, like, thanks for affirming my inner thoughts.
Sure.
I don't know where I'm going with that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I would say that, like, at the end of the day, it is selfish. The WeldWerks Invitational was designed after many places like Good Vibes and other sort of festivals that really take care of the people. And I mean, we pay for brewers to fly. We pay for their flights. We pay for their beers. We pay for their hotel rooms, because we want them there. Because it's not just the thing that it brings to the festival attendees, but it's for us too. I mean, selfishly, it was born out of the fact that we wanted to have a festival where we could try the best beers in the world and hang out with some of our close friends for the industry. And then we were able to bring other people into it. And then we were able to give money to our community. And I think it kind of just, it started out as a greedy thing that turns into, you know, the most charitable thing that we can do, you know? So it is that. And it's, if we could just run our business like that, it'd be great. You know, we try our best to do that, but.
Yeah, you do that through collabs and stuff. I see some folks talking about collabs in the chat here. It looks like you have one with Creature Comforts. We have a question if you'll ever do one with Angry Chair. Does like that festival bring a lot of conversation about collabs, give you opportunities to do stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, the festival definitely does. And I think over the years, we've been able, with COVID, again, it changed how we were doing collabs. So originally it was always in person. You were always there for brew days. And without that, it kind of changed it. And it also kind of changed the way that you communicated with other brewers. We did do the Creature Comforts one, which was also a beer for charity, which was a really cool thing to work with them on. Angry Chair, we have never done a collab with them. I'll never say never to anything ever. That's part of the WeldWerks way. But yeah, I would love to do a beer with them. They make a fantastic beer. I think we can make a really cool stout. I'm sure that's what everyone wanted to hear. But yeah, so the festival has become such a taxing thing on our coworkers and everyone that's involved that actually last year, I think we brewed like 2, maybe the entire week while people were actually out there. And we spent more time just kind of hanging out with bigger groups of people instead of being like, hey, we just have this one brewery here to brew a beer, and then the next brewery starts, kind of like we did the first year, where we tried to mash as many in as we could, and we kind of spread them out, because it's kind of like, hey, we're all here, let's not worry about brewing beer right now, you know, let's hang out, let's talk about our lives. And that's one of the things that, you know, evolves over time. You know, when we all meet, we all geek out about beer and how we do stuff, and we'll still have those conversations. But I think the bigger thing is like, hey, how's your wife? How's your girlfriend? How's your, you know, how's your fiance, husband? You know, how are you guys? You know, like, and we're all, you know each other. You know, I've been invited to a couple of people's weddings over the years, so it's just we're just friends. And so, like, you know, you see your friends and you don't want to talk about work right away. So
right, I
think that's kind of what happened at the festival nowadays, but we still do plenty of collabs.
That's great to hear. There's this aspect of not shared trauma, but but the shared experience of the difficulties of brewing beer at an exceptional level, and then that gives way to this collective friendship that when you all get together, it's this amazing thing. I've seen it at CBC. I've seen it at my locals like Brewers Guild events here in Pittsburgh, and there is something special about that. These people that all work separately, but in some ways together, towards building this thing that we know is like craft beer in America, to then get together and be like, hey, how you doing? You know, like, how is your regular life? Like, how are you?
Yeah,
it is something special.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And it's one of those things where it's amazing to see where in any other industry, everyone's completely against each other and secrets. And it's like, we make each other better all the time. One, because if someone makes a great beer, well, now I want to make a better beer than them. But instead of just being like, well, screw you, I want to make a better beer. It's like, no, well, let's talk about this. How did you do this? What is your theories?
What did you do?
And it's also understanding people's theories, not just, hey, I'm right, you're wrong. It's like, well, what's your thought process? Because everyone's going to see the same problem, but look at it find a different solution. And to be tone deaf and to tune people out, whether they work at the biggest brewery or the smallest or the most, hyped brewery, it doesn't really matter. Everyone's trying their best. And I think that anyone can figure it out. And the more you listen and talk to people, the better off you're going to be, your company's going to be, your team's going to be. I mean, and I think that's just a huge thing in craft beer. I think everyone kind of realized that pretty early on in it. And that's kind of what the culture is, the way it is.
Yeah, totally. That's what it's all about. I love it.
So to wrap us up, Skip, what is one thing about Greeley, Fort Collins, Colorado that you wish was more well known?
Yeah. Everyone always thinks of Colorado, they think of beer, mountains, and cannabis. And, I would say food. I think food is one of those things that's kind of slept on. There's tons of great food here. I'm going to shamelessly plug our kitchen that we added in last February. So we're coming up on a year here. Our chef, Tim, and our chef, Raj, are putting out some of the best food. They're switching their menu every week. They're trying to be like, they're rotating their menu every week, like our draft list does. These guys are putting out some of the best food. I'm not just saying that. You could say I'm biased. I will challenge any person in here who listens to this podcast, who, if you're in Colorado, come try our food and tell me it does not rival the best food in Colorado, let alone in the country. And then if you're visiting Colorado, please try. Like I said, it is hands down absolutely amazing food. Colorado's food scene has been slept on for a very long time. I don't know another state where they put cream cheese on pizza, and I didn't know it until I moved to Colorado, and it is the coolest shit on earth.
And honey too, isn't that a Colorado thing?
That's not as big. It's cream cheese and jalapenos with pepperoni.
Okay. All right.
But that's a Colorado thing, and like I said, that's some cool shit. If you ask me.
How the fuck have I never had that?
The first time I saw it, my mind was blown too. I said, "Why is cream cheese not normally on pizza?"
Cream cheese, jalapenos.
It's like a
something
jalapeno
to do with all that beer and
pizza.
Cannabis. Popper pizza. That's exactly what Matt just said in the chat. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, maybe because I've indulged in those some other things that have been mentioned that I just completely forget about the.
Sure.
That doesn't make sense. That's not.
You would think that would really just be a direct.
Yeah.
Like the weed stores right next to the
absolutely
cream cheese pizza.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
They're usually not too far.
And they have an advertisement on the scooters that you can grab from the convention center. We're going too far in depth.
Yeah.
One more question.
Sure.
Skip, what is your prediction for the favorite style of WeldWerks customers in 2023?
Well, everyone's leaning towards the lagers and these light beer trends. I'm not great at predictions. I wish I was. I would probably be better at my job if I was. But I'm sticking with my favorite. So I'll stick with IPA. IPA will remain supreme, the king of craft beer. What style of IPA, I can't say. I'm hoping for the best of me that we get West Coast becomes just common. We're brewing more West Coast IPA than we have probably in the last couple years. So I hope that continues. I'm a huge fan of the cold IPA. We do ours a little bit differently with our mixed fermentations of different yeasts and temperatures and different tanks and blend them. Ours is kind of a little different. I love that beer. It was a fun experiment. So I'm going with IPA. I hope IPA, because that's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing to write recipes of, work with hops, all the cool stuff that's coming out in hops and yeast right now. It's such a great time to be brewing IPA and be a part of some of those programs where we get to try hops before everyone else and see what's cool, what's not, help with growers. We work a lot right now with growers and all that. So I'm going with IPA, whether I'm right or not. We'll never know, I guess. Well, we'll know in a year, but
that's what you're brewing either way.
That's what we're brewing either way. That's what I like.
Great.
IPA is going to keep the lights on for the entirety of the craft beer industry's existence. Yeah. I think that's a very smart answer. Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Where can people find WeldWerks beer?
So we are distributing in 20 states now, I think. We are working on more. We are WeldWerks Finder app on our website. I think there's a whole link where you type in your area code and it'll tell you everywhere near you. I don't know how it's working now with all of our distribution partners. You can find us Tavour, always on Tavour. Like I said, we're working with some partners. We will have a pretty cool distribution to all of our states. Pretty cool project that I'm really excited about. I'll give you a little tease, but we're going to do our first national distribution media noche. It's not full national. It'll just be in our footprint. But like I said, it's continuing to grow and we're excited about it. And I'm very excited about this media noche. The blend was pretty crazy on it. It was about 30-ish barrels, all from the same producer. It might rhyme with old Rip Van something. Anyways,
oh my god!
So we're really excited about it. It'll be seeing stores in the next couple weeks or so, in early February. So we're excited about it.
Yo, anybody that sees WeldWerks Distro, hit me up. Brian at brewvana.com. Trying to get on that. I'll trade. Yeah. I got Black Magics and Aphotics for trade.
We're pretty excited about the blend. So
that's amazing. Oh my god. Well, thank you so much, MC. Thanks for hosting this month. Final thoughts.
Thanks for having me. Just like an honor to be here as always. Fort Collins is really special to me. Fort Collins beers are really near and dear to my heart. So it was particularly special and nostalgic to be here with you this month, Brian. Like I said, it's sad as always to wrap it up, but as the officially crowned best friend of the show, I anticipate seeing you in just no time.
Yeah, best friends always come back. Thanks, Skip, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This was great. Fort Collins rules, like Colorado rules. They make a strong case for best state in all of the country.
Easy to get off the plane and stay in Denver, but get a car, drive the hour north and get to Fort Collins or Greeley, or we visited a lot of cool places this month. So make the little bit of extra effort and get outside of Denver.
Look, we showed you 5 breweries out of northern Colorado this month. There's so many other great breweries there, but our wonderful our breweries, featured breweries this month. Shout out to all of them. WeldWerks, Funkwerks, Crooked Stave, Wiley Roots, and also Jessup Farm Barrel House. Those are just 5 of the amazing breweries that are operating in the state of Colorado. So go out to Colorado. There's so many awesome things: the food, the mountains, the cannabis, the beer, and many other things. But that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Funkwerks and WeldWerks for supplying beers for the show, and as well the beer club. As always, you can head over to brewvana.com, check out subscription options, and get amazing beers like these. shipped to you on a monthly basis. We'll be back next week with a new featured city. Nick and Nora in the chat will be happy. It's going to be the place where Lou Solverson had his run-in with the Gerhardt crime family and was saved by a UFO that came in time. Figure that one out before we get to next week. But until then, stay safe, be kind, and support local breweries, everyone. Cheers. Good
Cheers,
night.
y'all.
Thanks for watching Brews Less Traveled on YouTube. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more interviews with brewery professionals.